Welcome. Welcome to the first Sunday after Christmas. However you're watching this, at 10:30 on Sunday, on December 26th, or sometime later, and wherever you are as you're watching this, you are in our prayers at Bethany, and we wish you and yours a most meaningful Christmas time. We're offering today a recorded service that we put together earlier in the week. And we want to thank our AV Crackerjack director, Barry Payton, who recorded all of us and then knit it all together and sent it to our good friend Penny, who then lifted it from Barry and put it on our website. We are thankful to both of them. And we're thankful to you for being part of this ministry. We hope you will enjoy this service. God bless.
Today I'm reading from Luke 41 to 52, the New International Version. The boy Jesus at the temple. Every year Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. When he was 12 years old, they went up to the festival according to the custom. After the festival was over, while his parents were returning home, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but they were unaware of this. Thinking he was in their company, they traveled on for a day. When they began looking for him among their relatives and friends, when they did not find him, they went back to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. Everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. The mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxious, searching for you." "Why were you seeking for me?" he asked. "Didn't you know that I had to be in my father's house?" But they did not understand what he was saying to them. When he went down to Nazareth with them and was obedient to them, but his mother treasured all the things in her heart. And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature in the favor of God and men. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
And he showed me the way. shepherds kept them watching, all wandering flock by night. Behold, from out the heavens there shone a holy light. Go tell it on the mountains, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountains, our Jesus Christ is born. And lo, when they had seen it, they all bowed down and prayed, then traveled on together to where the babe was laid. Go tell it on the mountains, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountains, our Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it on the mountains, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountains, our Jesus Christ is born.
Welcome. I want to share with you some thoughts about the story that Ian just read. This is a lesson every 3 years that is shared on the Sunday following the Christmas story. And because of that, even though the story is relatively well known, you've probably rarely heard it preached on because, let's be honest, very few people go to church on the Sunday following Christmas. So when the minister preaches on this text, the church is almost entirely empty. So you may have never heard a little reflection on this story. So I'm excited to share it with you now, and at whatever time of day and whatever day in the Christmas season you're watching. This is a story about Jesus in the temple. To set the scene, Mary and Joseph have brought their not infant, that's for sure, likely teenager, adolescent, Jesus, to the temple. It's one of the very few stories in the entire 4 Gospels about Jesus in the period between his birth and his ministry. Very rare. In some of the other Gospels, by the way, if you're interested, that didn't make it into the canon, there are more stories about the adolescent or younger Jesus. But in our 4 texts, this is really the only one. And it's a story that tells us a little bit about who Jesus was even at a younger age. Here at Bethany, we have many stained glass windows. This particular window is meant to depict the story that Ian just read. And if you are able to see, and it's not easy to see a stained glass window at various times during the day, you see Jesus here dressed in turquoise, very sort of austere looking, yeah? And there are 2 men who are wearing beards and are engaging him, and they're holding documents, which are likely sacred scrolls, and they are discussing the Torah, the Jewish law, because Jesus, of course, was born and died a Jew. Jesus is Jewish, right? And so here in the temple, Jesus is engaged with these elders about what the Torah means, demonstrating both Jesus' wisdom at a very young age and the fact that these older men, learned men, find something about his questions or his observations to be engaging. Okay? Now here's something I find amusing. The person who installed this window, or when it was done, has Jesus and the doctors in the temple. And doctors has a big D. I find that a little amusing. Obviously, these elders, if you will, in the temple are referenced here at Bethany as doctors. Maybe those persons here at the church who have doctorates like the idea of the word doctor appearing on the window, Barry. David, Murray. That's a comment. So what I want to talk about is, in this text, what we look for when we look for Jesus. Now, we've just gone through Advent and Christmas. And in this particular season, we are looking for something. Often when we're looking for something, we have a preconceived idea of why we're looking, right? So if you ask people why they go to church at the Christmas Eve service, they'll tell you they like the feeling of being in the church with their family. They like the carols. They like the quietness. They like the dark and the contrast to the candles. They like singing Silent Night. And most of all, they like the idea that in this manger, there is a beautiful baby who has come as God to the world, as Savior and light to the nations. But what is it about Jesus coming into the world that brings our attention to this story? Well, everyone loves a baby. The other day I did a church service here at Bethany, and people watched it online and really enjoyed the service. And I made a comment about the service, and one of the people who watched it said to me, "You know, Kevin, don't take this the wrong way, but the only thing I noticed about that service was the beautiful baby." Beautiful babies trump everything, don't they? But yet, if we come searching for Jesus as the cute, beautiful, comforting baby boy, if you will, or baby, we may miss the fact that Jesus also comes to ask questions, to challenge our understanding of who God is and what God is asking us. In other words, the child Jesus, the teenager Jesus, doesn't come into the world only to comfort us, to bring us peace, to bring us contentment, so that we would look at Jesus and say, "Ah." Jesus also comes to challenge, to push, to question, to cause us to say, what we think about God, what we think about religion, what we think about truth, may need some changing. We may need to rethink some of the things that we've held for 10, 20, 30, 50, 60 years. What you learned in Sunday school was very valuable, but what you learn in life from those whom you have walked with, from your friends in the church, from your friends outside the church, from books you read, that will cause you sometimes to rethink some of the things that you've held dear. And we shouldn't be afraid. Learning new things, learning how other people have experienced God will sometimes bring us to a new epiphany. But sometimes it may even cause us to say, well, that's you. This is what I believe. And that's okay too. If you find something challenging about Jesus, it may cause you to change your mind, or it may not. But it's important that when you read the Bible, particularly the four Gospels, we need to remember that we're reading texts not just to comfort us, but sometimes to challenge us. There's a picture that is perhaps most iconic of all in all churches. It is the picture of the Last Supper. I don't think you need to even see one. You can close your eyes right now and think of the Last Supper, right? I know churches, many churches, that have reenacted the Last Supper. Probably did so at Bethany. I know previous churches I had, we would, in Holy Week, reenact the Last Supper. We would have people from the church play the different persons at the table. No one wanted to be Judas, by the way. The other day I had a coffee with a friend of mine. And he said to me, "Kevin, I want to give you something." I said, "Oh, what's that?" He said, "I went to a thrift store and I saw a picture of the Last Supper. Now this is a little different because it's metal, right? It's tinny, right? So it's a little different. But as you can see from the image, it is the Last Supper, right? So it's familiar. And I asked my friend, why are you giving this to me? And he said to me, you know, Kevin, I've come to church at various times in my life, particularly when I've been in a crisis. I'm not a lifelong churchgoer, but I go when I need to go. And I go to Catholic churches, I go to Anglican churches, I go to United churches, I go to Baptist churches, I sometimes go to Pentecostal churches. And when I go, I'm looking for something new, something that will pull me out of my difficulty into a new reality. And he said, the other day I saw the Last Supper and I looked at it in a new way. And I said, what's that? And he said, you know, Kevin, religion, Christianity, has baggage. There have been, and I don't need to go regale you with all of the things that the church has done over generations to women, to people of color, to indigenous people, to people of other religions, Catholics and Protestants at war with one another, to gays and lesbians. We have a lot of baggage. And my friend said, what I love about that Last Supper image is it reminds me, as a seeker, as someone searching for truth, that the church at its best offers community, offers conversation, the breaking of the bread, disciples engaged intimately in conversation and support. He said, when I look at the Last Supper, what I am reminded of, to me, he said, is the truth of community, of what community is and how it can help us to learn, to support, to find new truth from people who are following the same path. He said, Kevin, I never thought of that. And he said, I know that you work in the church. The church is your life. And I want you to have that image to remind you that this, for me and for many, is the church at its best. And I said, you know, I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it on my office. It's going to be right in my sight line. So whenever I'm on the phone, whenever anybody comes in my office, the first thing I see is that image. And it will remind me of our conversation. And when I think of this image, I think of that man as Jesus, as myself as one of these older men with the beard. And I'm listening to my friend as these men are listening to Jesus. And I'm learning from the questions, from what the life experience, from the Spirit, from the searching. My friends, on this Sunday after Christmas, may you find deep within your soul questions, answers, community, insight. May you find the truth, because the truth will set you free. Amen.